Alright, here we're going to work on example 6 from Unit 2 on Quadratics, Day 2. So the first example deals with modeling quadratic equations with a graphing calculator. So the table below shows the heights, h in feet, of a wrench t seconds after it's been dropped from a building under construction. So they give you the table, time in t seconds from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then height in h, 400, 384, 336, 256, 150, or 144. So clearly the height is decreasing as time goes on because the wrench is being dropped from a building under construction. To enter this data onto your calculator, think back to Algebra 1 and you worked on linear regression. We're going to do quadratic regression. So to do that, you have to go under your calculator and hit the Stat button and then hit Edit, number 1. So I'm going to list my t in L1, so that's 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then in my h column, I'm going to list my heights in my L2 column. 400, 384, 336, 256, and 144. Enter. Alright, so what I've done is I've listed my coordinates, essentially, for my information with the wrench. To get a nice graph of this, we can do what's called a scatter plot. So if you look, it says use your graphing calculator to create a scatter plot of the data as shown to the right. Explain why the data appear to fit a quadratic model. So remember, the steps to get there were stat, and then edit, and then you entered in data for L1 and L2. To see the graph, you have to hit second, y equals, and let's turn on that first stat plot. So I'm going to hit enter and then hit enter on the on. And so now I'm just going to make sure all this other stuff is highlighted. Everything looks good. I'm going to hit graph. Well, I don't see anything, but let's look back at my table. Look at the numbers for my table. T is really just my x values, so that's my x-axis, and y is my h values in this table. So if I look, my y values only go up here to 10, but this one has from 400 to 144. So to fix that, you click on Window, right next to the y equals. X min and X max is how far left and how far right your graph goes. Y min and Y max is how low and how tall your graph is. So I'm not really worried about negative numbers. I'll keep negative 10, but this graph I'm going to make to go up to at least 450. Because that way it's more than my highest point, so I can get a good approximation. Let's hit graph again. And now I get a better picture or image of those points. So I've created the scatter plot. Let's look at the question. Explain why the data appear to fit a quadratic model. Well, this looks like a line of symmetry, and these parts to the right look like the right-hand part of a quadratic graph. So the points on the right-hand side look like a quadratic equation. It seems like x equals 0 is an axis of symmetry. So it looks like I can just flip this right over and get the parabola that's upside down. Alright, next question. Your calculator has the ability to come up with the equation given the information we input onto the scatter plot. So it says use the quadratic regression feature on the same screen as a scatter plot to verify that it fits the data. So to get to the regression, you hit stat again, and it gives you that screen. So stat. And then this time, you're going to scroll over to the right to calculate. So you have to go over to calculate. And we want the quadratic regression. So if you look at your choices, quadratic regression is number 5. So I hit enter. This is asking you for what your x values are, and that was our L1, and then the y values were L2. You don't need anything for the frequency list or this question, so you just hit calculate. And now it's giving me the quadratic equation in the standard form, and it's telling you what the values of a, b, and c are based on the data that we've given it. So my a value is -16, and my b value is 0, my c value is 400. So I can write the equation y equals -16x squared plus 400, because 0 times x is 0, so I don't need to write that part down. Alright, let me graph that equation now into my graph that I have set up. And then answer the question. Verify that it fits the data, and clearly you can see that this equation fits the data for the right hand side, which makes sense in the context of the problem. We don't have negative time, so starting at 0 and then as time goes on, my wrench is falling to the ground. So the equation fits the points. When does the wrench hit the ground? Well, we've worked on that before. We're looking, when does it cross the x-axis? So I see it crossing right there. I could do second trace 0. I want to be to the left. So that means above in this case. Above the x-axis, and then to the right, so I'm just going to scroll below. Hit enter. So it says that x equals 5, y is 0. So after 5 seconds, the wrench falls to the ground. If you were having trouble seeing the cursor, you could change your window and make your Y-min a little bit lower. And then when you do the second trace 0, well, even then it still looks a little bit too much. Let's make it even smaller. Let's make it -50. And now let's try second trace 0. Yeah, so now you can get a better sense of where the cursor is if you were having trouble. Move it below, enter, and you get the same answer. Alright, that's how you can use your calculator to get the equation of a quadratic situation with the table that's given to you.